great. I can't touch it or anything. My skin looks terrible. My hair looks terrible. Everything is terrible. This sucks. Hello, my darlings. Welcome to my little corner of YouTube land. We have a whole new setup and it's freaking me out because it doesn't look right and I don't know where to look, and it's okay though, I'll get it. We have a really busy show. It's really full of a lot of information, and also a lot of new plans that have disrupted everything I was doing. So we have changes to January's stuff already, and today is the 14th, so halfway through the month, and we're changing course. So first we're going to start on whips. Oh, also the light's all different because I got a new camera and the window is open, so there's actually sunlight. Nice. Okay, so our main project is the Maleficent brioche. Hang on, let me find the right side. This is the right side. Okay, let me take these off. Okay, so last time I believe we were right here. We hadn't started the brioche bands yet. So this is so busy. There's so much going on. I love it. So here's the the first color is this green, right? And the second color is the black, purple, and pink. Do you remember? So the first part of the brioche band has these colors in the forefront, well, the V's, and then the green is in between the brioche. So the columns, you can't see because they're black. Okay, here we go. So the columns are pink. Okay, and then the green is and then halfway through you switch colors. So the dominant color on the second one is our first color. And I love how I've never done this in like two variegateds before, and like I've done like tonals, and I just absolutely love how this looks. I think it looks so cool. Anyway, so last week I was just about to start the brioche bands, so I have finished the brioche bands, and if you can see, we've got like 6, not quite 6 rows of our secondary color. So we're done now. This is just the rest of this skein. I'm going to use it till I run out, garter stitching the other half. So I have no idea what it's going to look like. And guess what? Remember I was all concerned with running out of this. Look how much I have left. And then this color, right in the middle of the brioche. Guess how mad I was. And then I didn't even weigh any of them. I didn't weigh any of my cakes before or after. Never. I didn't weigh anything, and usually I weigh everything multiple times and weigh it throughout the project to see, and I just totally winged it, and now I'm mad. Because I have that little bit in the brioche that, at least it's close to the top, so I can try to I don't know, maybe duplicate the middle stitch and go behind the other brioche with the other one. Duplicate from the other side, but they're both black, so I mean the black is in both ones, but I don't think the other one's purple, so we're gonna have to wait anyway. So this will be done probably next week. I should have this done. But the 28th, 14th, 21st, yeah, it should be another week. That should be done. Now, I'm gonna I dropped something and I'm gonna step on it. I just know it, or the cat's gonna come in here and get it. So, here's the thing. There's always a thing. So this is the January dye project. Remember, this is our second big one for the month. And I'm showing it here because I'm going to frog this whole thing. Doesn't it look nice though? So here's where we started, in this corner, and it got some nice little pooling, and I mean, I'm also going to take some pictures of it, but I love this part right here where it's not really striped because the black is behind it and then the green is in front of it, so it's like this, like this is a stripe. I don't like that. I like this weird. They look like those candies that are on the paper that you had to bite off the paper. What were those? I don't know what they're called, but I love that little thing. But so this is getting frogged, and also this is getting frogged. This is the 6th row stockinette. I haven't done anything on this. But here's the thing. The whole point of doing these dye projects each month was to get my business more, get myself more in a position for eventually selling my own yarns. And I'm doing these dye projects specifically to show how yarn works up, how the different dye patterns in my dyed yarns work up. The problem is, even though I love this pattern, it's not available in just the 6th row repeat because this is not my pattern. And I started thinking, this is great but what is the point of showing these to potential buyers when I can't sell them this pattern? I can't direct them to this pattern because the pattern itself is technically, the 6th row repeat is not its own pattern. It's part of other patterns available from somebody else. And now if she released this as its own one skein, garter, like shawlette, then I would go ahead and do this. But I don't know the designer, and I don't feel comfortable asking her to do something like that because, like, who the heck am I, So here's what I've decided. Okay. I am also a pattern designer. I don't release a lot of my patterns because, first of all, it's a pain, and you need testers, and I never have testers. And every time I do have testers, they run away with my pattern and they never test my items. So I gave up testing like 6 years ago because it was too hard to get loyal testers that would actually and I even had a printout that you just had to fill in. You didn't have to write anything. You just had to answer my questions. That was all I had to do, because I knew what information I wanted. Anyway, this is one of my original patterns. This is a triangle top down, one skein. I call it a lacy triangle because it's sections of stockinette and sections of lace, like a mesh lace. It's a yarn over, knit two together, and on the other side it's a yarn over SSK, right? Something like that. And then I did yarn overs around the spine and yarn overs at the edge, because triangle shawls will have 4 increases on each right side row, 2 in the middle, 2 on either side of the spine, and then 1 on each end. That's how you get the triangle shape. So I've done it in this. This is Alegria Agave. And this is actually Cascade Heritage in black, just because, of course, I wanted a black one. And it's gorgeous. I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So these take 1 skein. So it's a great thing for if you want summery, your 1 skein of fingering that would be airy for summer. Like this is a 3 season. This will take you spring, summer. Let's do this color because you can see it. This will take you spring, summer, and fall. Like in the fall, if you wanted to do something a little warmer, an alpaca cashmere blend, you could do this. Or if you are easily overheated, I'm not. Or if you live in a warmer climate, which I do not. So this is perfect for me because I'm a freeze baby and I hate going inside in the summer when the air's on and it's like 60 degrees and I'm freezing. The other shawl that I designed, I have it written down. I had 1 shawl and I made it heart-shaped instead of triangle-shaped, and I ended up not liking it. So I ripped it out, and my plan was to redo it in the triangle shape. And it's actually a whole lot like that. They're pretty much the same pattern, just one has lace through it, and then the other one is stockinette, and then at the edges, I did an old shale repeat, so you get a scalloped edge on the bottom. And that one I made in cashmere. So this is getting frogged, and this is going to be made into my heart-shaped, I'm calling it, or not heart-shaped, triangle stockinette. Like again, 1 skein so this will be, I can't talk today. This will be for ones like for the colder months. I like doing them, like I just said, my first one was in cashmere because I loved it and it was so warm. So this, because this is cashmere, even though it's not this is my favorite colorway of Tina's, I'm going to redo this in that one, and I'm going to do this one. I'm going to save this design for the silk blend because I did not know what I was going to do with the silk blend, so I'm just going to. So you're not going to see this again because this will probably get done in the fall because we're heading into nicer weather. So because I'm going to frog this one, and what I want to do is take, because I have two shawl patterns. I want to make one in one, this each colorway, each color pattern. This is the half and half. I want to do this in the mesh and also in the stockinette, so I can see. So when you come to buy yarn, you can see this skein will work up like this on either of these patterns. And those patterns are going to be free. And then so you will have something to make with my dyed yarns, and you will see what it, then you can see what it will look like made up. Because I love that. I love seeing a skein of yarn made up in a particular thing. So I'm going to need testers, because that's at least 8 shawls. And I mean, I guess over the year I could make 8 shawls. I have 1 tester so far, but I would love to have a couple more testers and work out some compensation for testing. So anyway, I'm going to frog this. I'm going to take some pictures of it, and I'm going to frog it, and then I'm going to, I think I'm going to start the stockinette one with the lace at the bottom, with the old shale at the bottom, because it's not quite warm weather. And I tend to wear green and black around January for Pete's birthday. So if I'm going to wear this in January, I want it to be warm. So that's my plan for this one. So then my whole dyeing plan for the whole rest of the year is messed up now, because now it's going to have to be 2 skeins to do both things. So I just changed my entire thing. So also, because I did that, I knocked off Lola's bulky sweater, which again, because it's midwinter and I'm tired of winter, and I'm not looking forward to winter things. So I'll wait till the fall when I'm more excited for the colder weather. So then I also haven't been working on the arm warmers because I don't have time now. And then I probably will do a top for me. So that's my new plan for my business. And I think that'll give me put me in a better position to show people what, if you buy this skein of yarn or this skein of yarn, that this is what it's going to look like worked up if you want to make one of these 2 shawls. And I did 2 different versions because I like to have them for different fibers, for different times of year, stuff like that. So and I'll probably make a black one in both, but the other black one for the winter is going to be cashmere, or maybe I'll dye that dog yarn black and make it, I don't know. So anyway, that's what I decided to do to put me in a better position, but that means no more of my favorite 6-row garter shawls, except for the brioche shawls that I have planned. And I do believe there are at least 1 more. Possibly 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure there's 1 planned for next month, but we'll get there in next episode. Okay. Squishy mail. Now this I got on sale at Knitcrate. Oh. They had their end of the year double down. And I'm not even kidding you. Total. Oh my god, this doesn't even have it has the actual total of what they were. But I'm going to show you what I paid. Because I was so excited. Where's my screenshots? Because I was like, what? That's not real. Did I not take a screenshot? Oh, wait. Probably did it on my computer and then I didn't. Oh, no, I did. It's right here. Okay, so you guys, my discount for this was $61.31. So I actually paid $29.44 for a 5-pack and 2. So for 7 skeins of yarn, that's me like $30. So first I got 2 of these. This is the organic Pima Cotton Uru yarn cotton basic. I've actually never used Pima Cotton, but I got this in one of my monthly subscriptions in a gray, and I loved it so much. And this was on there and I was like, oh, they were selling these for $10. And so I was like, okay, I'll go with $10. I mean, it's like this purpley blue. It's really, really gorgeous. It's a little bit more purpley than that, looks more blue. But it would even go real nice with the gray. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I'm hoping it's a DK weight, 100% organic Pima Cotton. I was hoping I could make one of my tops, but I've never actually worked with cotton yarn before. That wasn't like, you know, sugar and cream, like the dish towel, you know. That's my only experience with cotton yarn. So then I got 5 of these. And this is Chunk. It's called Chunk. Uru yarn, made for Knitcrate. Knititude, what? By Knitcrate. It's called Shiraz in the City. It is 82% merino, 18% Peruvian Pima cotton. Super bulky, 109 yards. So it's like a charcoaly color. It's not quite black. It's not brown. It's almost like a purpley gray. It's really, really pretty. And so I'm thinking I could make the that cowl, the homecoming from Outlander, what's her name, Brianna's homecoming cowl, because I made 2 of them, and the one was acrylic, so I don't wear it, and the other one I didn't like the color, but I still like those colors, just not in that product. So I didn't want to over dye it, because some are black and some are like this cherry red that's gorgeous. So I do want to make that into something else, just not that. But I do want to have that cowl because I really, really like the cowl. So I got 5 of these, so that should be more than enough to make the cowl. So anyway, that's my big giant bargain at Knitcrate. So this cotton will probably come back around in the summer, maybe. Oh my God, everything's gonna come down on me. Okay, so are we on time? We're okay. So, like I was saying before, a couple episodes ago, that I wasn't sure what this episode was going to be about, and one person had the suggestion about blocking. So we're going to talk all about blocking today, and there's so much information that I probably should have made like an outline of some sort, but I didn't. I was just like, we'll just wing it. So I'm probably gonna forget a whole bunch of stuff. So I wanted to kind of define blocking for you, especially if you are one of those people that says, I've never blocked. I never block. I don't block. Okay. Blocking is a finishing technique. So to me, it's part of the knitting process that my garments, here's the thing, if you knit with acrylic, blocking isn't going to make that big of a difference for you fit wise. And I can tell you that because I used to knit with nothing but acrylic for years and years. And well, mostly crocheted with acrylic years and years. And though I did knit, especially hats, I knit a lot of hats. And I did not really have to block them because they would, it doesn't matter. You cannot block acrylic and it can be fine. But I also found that if you did block acrylic, it made a big difference. So it's one of those things in my debate between homemade and handcrafted, which is really how seriously you take the craft, and if it's a hobby, if it's a professional venture or an artistic adventure, maybe. That there's a different, if you're a hobbyist, it may not matter to you, but if you are professional or you want to go that way, then blocking is something that is really going to change your makes. It's going to change your presentation of them at the end. Okay. Now, how you block is usually with water or steam. So I'm trying to see, I should have prepared something and then just read from it instead of just having little things knitting. So what does blocking actually do? We said it's a finishing technique. Well, what does that mean? It evens out your stitches. It can help you reach a certain dimensions if you're blocking a shawl, and you block to those dimensions. If you're blocking parts of a sweater, you're going to block to dimensions. If you are blocking blanket squares, you need them all to be the same size. So you're going to block those to specific dimensions. I always, if something needs assembly, I block it first and then I assemble, because it's easier to see your stitches if it's blocked, and it's easier to see if things are lining up if it's blocked. Then, if necessary, I will block the whole thing, but it's not usually necessary to reblock the whole thing, but sometimes you might need to. Okay, so what needs to be blocked? I think everything needs to be blocked. The only exception for me would be toys, because you don't want to loosen up those stitches. You want those stitches to stay nice and tight, and they're probably, if that toy is ever washed, you're going to the stitches are going to loosen up, and it's going to be either you wash it and put it in the dryer, in which case if it's acrylic, you're going to loosen up those stitches when the heat hits it. So what don't you block? Now this is important. You have to look at the fiber content of your yarn. Some novelties you will not want to block. Some not, like if it's metallic, I've never worked with metallic, so I don't know, but I would suggest to read the care label. The care label that comes with your yarn has a lot of information on it. It's going to tell you if it's washable. It's going to tell you what temperature it's washable at. Most of my stuff is wool, so it doesn't, I always wash it in cold every time, because I'm also a dyer, and I know if you heat that up, you can disrupt the chemical bond. So I don't heat anything that is, I'd never use lukewarm, nothing. It's cold water, and I let it sit until the water is lukewarm so I can put my hands in it. So you want to read your label, especially if it's a novelty yarn. If it is something like Angora, camel, something higher end, cashmere. Cashmere I treat like wool, just more delicately. So when I dye it, I don't dye it at as hot of a heat as I dye wool. And I also am gentler with it when I'm rinsing it and washing the after dyeing. So I've never used Angora, so I don't know. But here's what I can tell you. And also silk. If you have more delicate fibers, well, should we get into the blocking methods or blocking tools and stuff like that? When in doubt, do a swatch. When in doubt, do a swatch and block it as you would block the item. Stretch it how you would stretch it. You do it exactly like you had the item and see what happens. That would be my number one recommendation. Other than looking up, you can always Google the fiber and how to block. Also, you want to be aware of blends. So if you have a wool acrylic blend, you can go two ways on that, because I've done both ways on this. So you can wet block it like wool. I like to wet block wool and either pin it or sometimes just stretch it out and not pin it. And depending on how much of each fiber is in it is going to depend how well you get, how well of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A result you get. You're either going to, so I would say, because once you block acrylic, because acrylic can only be blocked with heat, because it's essentially plastic. Water isn't going to do anything to it. I mean, it's not going to block it. But if you apply heat to acrylic, it will be permanently blocked. You cannot go back then and unblock. It's not like wool where you can try again. So here's the thing with acrylic. If you're going to block it, I recommend doing the laying it out, pinning it out where you want, and taking an iron, or a steam iron, at the lowest steam setting. They will tell you the highest, they're lying to you. Go to your lowest steam setting and hover, and the steam will come out, hover over it very quickly, just enough, and then I kind of like smooth it out, because if you go too far, that's it. I have ruined hats, especially acrylic hats, by essentially killing what you call killing the acrylic, which means there's no spring. It is just like limp noodles. It's like your alpaca, limp noodles. That's also why I recommend you do not use a closed steamer, because those run at a higher temperature that you cannot control. You cannot control how high that steamer is, because steam starts at the boiling point of 212 degrees. So some of them go hotter than that. They don't just go to 212 and stop. And you cannot control the steam like you can on your on a good steam iron. But you definitely do not want to press down on an iron. And the steamer you think it's easier because it's not hot. You can just press right in it. But I have killed hats that way, and I won't do it anymore. I do not recommend steamers, because you cannot control the heat. And once you do that, it's done. So if you have a wool acrylic blend, I would first, depending on the content, I would wet block it first and treat it like a wool and see if you can get the results you want without having to bother with the acrylic. Then if you're not getting the results you want, then I would go as low on the steam as you can quickly, because it's a more delicate process without, that's why I do not put acrylic in the dryer, because it will it will become completely limp, and I just don't use acrylic anymore, because I don't have a lot of control over how it acts, so I don't like it. So we've gone over acrylic. You're fine with acrylic. So that's all I'm going to say on acrylic. So I'm going to talk about blocking. I don't have a lot of experience blocking cellulose fibers either. I know that those can be really, there are so many, oh my gosh. There's bamboo, and see, most everything I use is a blend. I don't like to use like 100% anything unless it's wool, because I love wool and I love the structure of wool. So anything added to the wool is just going to improve the wool for me. So I don't like I said, I've never used the Pima. I mean, I've done other things in cotton, but not good quality cotton, and definitely never anything I would wear. Because I don't know why you would wear something made of that. So anyway, I'm going to move on to some things you're going to need for blocking. So it's two main types of blocking. There is wet blocking, where you submerge your entire item into water, usually with some wool soak. This is Eucalyptus. Oh my god. That blew that right out, didn't it? Eucalyptus. And then these things, I know I was talking about these single serves, single serving. Oops. The single servings of soak. And what I do is I take these and I put them in a spray bottle, and then I add some water to it. And this is like a Febreze for wools. So you can either wet block, where you soak it and then you bring it out of the water. Don't squeeze it out. Don't twist it. Don't wring it. Squeeze it. Sometimes you can put it in a towel and roll it up. I don't do any of that. I put it in a laundry bag and I spin it in my washing machine, or I spin it. I just got my husband bought me a spinner for the holidays, so I have a spinner in the kitchen now. So you want it damp, but that whole soaking is what loosens up everything. So you can soak, depending on how big the item is, you can soak 10 minutes to 30 minutes to, I guess you could soak an hour. I mean, I've certainly left things soaking because I forgot I was doing it. I also soak in a basin like this that is going to be near dishwashing things. And I also use this for when I'm dyeing, because I can see if my dyes are bleeding. So I recommend getting white, because if you are blocking something and you're soaking it, I also recommend you use cold water to keep the dyes in. You'll be able to see if you've got any bleeding happening if your basin is white. Okay. So we've got these. So what else do you need? You're going to need T-pins, rust proof. Now, rust proof doesn't always mean rust proof. If there is any nicks in like the coating, or it bends the wrong way or something, they can and will rust, and you will get rust on your items. So make sure that you are inspecting your T-pins. I only use these if I have points in lace. Like, oh, I must have scratched my face. Where's my dragon? Okay. This is Dragon's Hope. And this is made with Destination yarn. Oh my god. It was a Terror Guard. This was a Game of Thrones one. At King's Landing. Where was... I'm going to have to look it up now. But see these points? So each one of these points gets... this was wet blocked. because it's wool. So then each point was, well, first what I did was, these are called blocking wires. I got these on Amazon. Just Google blocking wires. Knitpicks has some. I'm sure lots of places have some. And it's just wires. And you will thread it through this. Thread through here. All the way down. You will need more blocking wires than you think you will. I'm just telling you. So you block the arms. That's how you get straight arms on a triangle shawl. So you're going to block this and then pull the points down and pin them. Okay? And you can, when you're blocking, you can block to measurements. Make sure you have this. And then what I do is I only use these if there are points. If there are no points, I use these. These are my favorite thing in the whole wide world for blocking because they look like this. And they come in 2 sizes. So what's really great is when this is on a wire, you don't have to use a lot of pins to block this into place. You just put it, like I put one right in the middle and put one on the end, and then see where in, like you go through the wire. Obviously the wire will, you know, it'll hold the wire in place. And so what do you use, what do you put these pins in, right? So you can use, I've used towels, I've used cardboard, but I pretty much use these little put together pat things. I think that this was from Harbor Freight, but you can get they are anywhere, usually in kids stuff. Playmats. But you don't always have to pin things. I mostly pin shawls and blocking wires for shawls. I don't ever use them for anything other than a shawl. So if you don't make shawls, you don't need blocking wires. You could probably get away with some pins. But if you do, I do a lot of shawls, and these are like life-changing. So, other ways to block. If you wanted to block, let's say I wanted to block like a cowl that was made of some like Angora. What I would do at that point is I would pin out the cowl itself. Pin it out first to whatever you want. Then I would spray it with my wool wash and water. And you don't want to get it like soaking wet. It can be damp. You just want to make sure that it's damp on all the sides that it needs to be, because water is what's going to do it. And the wool wash is going to re-moisturize. It makes the wool better. So you could also, if you want to pin it out, you could try the steam, like I said. So you got to see if the fabric is going to either, you have to be careful because some fabrics, when wet, will become weaker. Wool becomes weaker when it's wet. So you can snap if you're not too careful. That's why you can also felt it and stuff like that when it's wet. So you want to be careful with certain fibers, and I would really recommend you dive in and learn about whatever fibers you're using. So if it's half wool, you already know the wool part. If it's half camel, I know nothing about camel at all. I've seen it one time and not in person. So I don't know anything about camel. I would research camel fibers and figure out what the experts say on how to properly block that. And then I would do a test swatch and I would see. I mean, you could always do two. You could always do heat and then water and see, because you only need a small swatch to see if it's going to ruin it. Let's see, iron, steamers, pins, combs, blocking wires. Oh, you can also have, here's things that need formed when they're blocks. Socks, gloves, they have actual blockers that you put them on. I told you about my tops, how I have a blocker thing. So my husband made this. So what I do is I measure around. Okay. So this is, yes. This is 29 inches around. Now I picked 29 inches because that is my under bust measurement. So that is the absolute small, not smallest, but that is where I wanted to make sure that my tops fit because of how they lay. That it was real important that the under bust, which is where the ribbing starts, that ribbing would be 29 inches around to fit me there. Because then it's going to be big over my belly, it's going to be nice, and the top is kind of like open in the back, so that doesn't, the cup doesn't matter. The cup is going to do what it's going to do. So that's how I know that all of my tops are blocked to the same measurement, because that's what I block them on. They all get blocked on that. Other things that need formed. Hats. Now here's the fun thing about hats. If you use a wool hat, I did not need a form when I blocked this because I wet blocked it. And then seriously, when it was wet, I did this. That's all I did all the way around until it was like stretched out enough. And then I let it dry. But I found this in my house. This is pretzels, a thing of pretzels. And I just measured it. Because this was like on the, do we keep, you know when you have like plastic and you're like, do we keep this? Do we try to recycle it? Because you try to reuse as much. This is literally 21 inches round. So this is perfect for a hat. So this is now going to be my hat blocker. And because look at that. It's perfect. So now I have a hat blocker. I mean, even look at the top. Like, it's hilarious. That's my new hat blocker. So if you need something that needs block, okay, I want to talk about something else. Sweaters. I am thinking of the sweater I made and how I blocked it, and I soaked that for half hour maybe, because you want to give it time to be fully submerged. You want to make sure it's fully submerged and that the water, it has enough water to whoosh around and get everywhere. Then I spun it in my washing machine to get most of the water out, and then I did pretty much like I did with the hat. I put my hands in the body and did that all the way around, and then did my hands in the sleeves as much as I could to go all around. Actually, it's right here so I can show you. So just go through and just, that's it. And then I laid it on a drying rack near the heating vents, and the next morning it was dry. That's how I do Lola's sweaters. I put my hands in it and do that, and I put it on a drying rack near the heat register vent, whatever, where the heat comes out. Yeah, so that's blocking in a nutshell. Um, if you're ever unsure of how to treat your fibers, I suggest Google and look for, I would stay away from, like, I don't like blogs. I get nervous about the people's credentials. So I would look more towards farms or places that sell their own fibers, because they can tell you what that fiber can handle. So if I was researching, say, alpaca, I would go like looking at alpaca farms that sell yarn or sell fibers, and I would look around their website and see, because they're going to have some care instructions for their stuff. So that's who I would trust if you're looking for how the fiber is going to react to being either wet or heated. For some reason, the heating, I think I'm just put off of it because of ruining kid hats. We've had iron. But I can see how that would be easier. Also, I want to talk about if you are doing lacy stuff, that I always block lengthwise first for shawls. I block across the top. And then whatever the top is, it might not be like on these ones, the top is not always the top. So the top is actually the side. So actually I don't block those that way. I block them this way. So I block these totally different. So with these, because this is so immovable, I block down this is actually the side of the shawl, and then this is the bind off. So I actually block those at a right angle. I block those at a right angle, and then I just let the middle do whatever it's going to do. That's how I block these. But then when I block something like this, I block the top first, and then I pull the center down, and then from the center I pull down the sides. Now when you have lace, you can also go in, if you need more stretch, you have to be careful. You have to be very careful, because don't forget this, your wool is going to get weaker when it's wet. So you can do a combination of both. You can soak it first, put it on, then as it's stretching, if you need more, because this lace will really, really stretch, okay? You can get a lot of stretch from this lace. If you want to mist it, pull, let it dry a little bit, let the fibers relax a little bit, come in, mist again, pull. You can get more. Now remember, whichever way you're going to take, like, I like length before height, okay? So for me, what's more important for these is these arms hit here than how far this goes, okay? Because I want it to stay on. So the farther down you go, the shorter these get. So you have to balance those. That's why they will usually give you, for shawls, they will give you a measurement of where you need to be for what they planned for that shawl. Otherwise, you can just do it to your own taste but I would caution you to be careful. That is a way to do it slowly and to get more lace, but you really do have to be careful, and you have to be really mindful of the state of your yarn and the tension of it, and know before it's going to break to stop. But anyway, it's a pretty long, this is I'll tell you this. This is Red Panda from I don't remember. Forbidden Fiber. Is it Forbidden Fiber? Here we go. I know it is. No, it's not letting me go to my. Here we go. Here it is. Savvy Skeins. Savvy Skeins Red Panda. Really, really cute. I love this for fall. It's just so perfect for fall. Let's see what my my dragon. Did I do this? Oh, I think I did this last year. I mean, not last year, the year before. Dragon's Hope. Dragon's Hope, yeah, I did this. 2019. This is Dragonstone from Destination Yarn. And it is called Dragon's Hope. I think this was written for her friend that died of cancer or something. It's really, really pretty, pretty, pretty. Also great for fall. I love this for fall too. So anyway, that's all my crap. I hope that blocking stuff was useful. It's pretty... There's a lot to it, and so I think, you know, that's how people become like overwhelmed. I don't block, so if you just wet your stuff, wet it, you're fine. So if you're also washing stuff in the dryer, laying it out, you're blocking it. So I don't always have to reblock things like this when I wash. It holds it pretty well. I don't always have to reblock. I think it depends on how, because I've soaked this and not had to reblock it as but I was pretty aggressive the first time. But like I said, you can also hang stuff up. Get those hangers with the, you know, like for pants. Hang it up and spritz it, and then your points will stay. I mean, that's if you've already blocked it. I don't think it would work on a first try. So yeah, can you believe I'm changing everything with my business stuff? What a pain. So I do need testers. So if you are in the US, I don't know though. I don't know if you're trustworthy. It'll depend. I can't wait till I have like a whole community, and then I can just be like, you guys, I need someone to test this, and like I'll have people that I know that I've already tested, and I'll be like, oh, you were great. Will you do it again? Because it's really, really hard to find good testers. Oh my God, I wanted to share something that. Do you follow Fat Squirrel Speaks? She is one of my favorites. I love her podcast. She always has me laughing. Like the last one. What was I was in here just, I had tears coming down my face. I forget what I was laughing at. I don't remember. But she was talking, she started out talking about quilting because she had this beautiful quilt over her window. And she said that they used it as like insulation, like, you know, for the cold, for the, you know, if you don't have that good of windows, you can just put a quilt over it. And I got so sad because I don't have the best family, and we don't have any type of heirlooms, things handed down. We don't have anything like that. My mother was not crafty. She did not make a lot of things. So we don't have baby clothes, baby blanket. We don't have any type of heirloom things. And I have always, always, always wanted a quilt. Like, I don't know why, I just always wanted a quilt. I think everyone should have a quilt. Like, no matter who you are, you should have a quilt so you're always warm. Like, it's just one of those things. So she was talking about quilting as you go, which I had heard about, but I didn't really know anything about it. And I have quilted exactly one thing in my life, and it is this thing. It was a placemat for a table. It was actually a placemat for an altar for the winter solstice, which is like the darkening of the night. And then for actual solstice night, we had all this holly berries. That's what this is called, right? Holly berries. But see, it's black and sparkly. Can you even see the silver sparkle? It's got silver sparkle in it. And these have, some of these are sparkly. It was just cheap stuff I got at Joann's. It wasn't anything serious. Because I wasn't real sure I could do it, but there's batting in there. There's batting in there for sure. So I came across this thing, and I wanted to share just in case you too wanted to quilt, but found it to be kind of hard, especially when you get to the binding part, which is why this never got finished, because I couldn't do the binding. But I want you to look up something called Fun and Done. And it's where your squares, you make the bottom square, like, by my estimation, about 2 inches larger than your inner square. And so your backing becomes your binding. It is a mind-blowing. Like, so now I have more of this fabric, so I'm just gonna cut a 1-inch strip and add it to this whole back part so I can finish this and be done with it. Like, I'm so amazed that, like, this is changing my life, and like I know I can make a quilt now. But I'm not gonna have any time this year with everything else I got going. But I don't know, maybe I was thinking maybe if I get my 2 things done a month, I could then use the rest of the month to make some squares, because they are as you go squares. And I was thinking I could probably do some of that, because that is on my bucket list, is to make some quilts, at least like throw quilts, like at least a couple, you know, deliciously black gothic quilts. This is, oh, I love this fabric. I just love it. So anyway, that's why it's important to watch all the other podcasters, because you will learn stuff that you did not know. And now I know I can make a quilt. I'm so excited. Because like everything I saw in the video, there were some YouTube videos on Fun and Done's. Everything that they did in that video, I have already done sewing, like bags, sewing that thing. Like, there was nothing there that was new to me. You know, like you're watching, you're like, oh, that doesn't look too hard. And then like you get it like stitch in the ditch. I'm like, what? No, stitch in the ditch is terrible. Don't do it. Don't. It's not easy. Don't fall for it. So, but the Fun and Done, I think it's really only a 2, by my estimations. It's a 2-inch around, a square that's 2 inches larger on the back for your backing. So I can make a quilt, guys. I think I'm going to. I really think I'm going to. I think that's going to be one of my things. I would make like a table runner, but we don't have like a dining room table. We don't sit down for dinner. Oh my God, I don't sit down for dinner. I do have a giant like knitting coffee table that like it's on hinges and it lifts up, and there's all this storage in there, and that's all my knitting stuff, but I never close it because you can't. But like I could make something nice for the top, I guess. But I'll probably make another one of these because I have 2 tables that could use one of those. Anyway, I can even make bags, quilt bags. So if you could basically take any quilt square, and if you make your backing 2 inches bigger and center it, you should be able to do the folded binding with the back fabric. just look it up if you're interested in quilting, because it is like, I've been thinking about it so much. I think that's why I didn't think about like realizing I should have done my dyed yarns on my own patterns, which I have, you know, the rights to, that I can actually, you know, that just came to me yesterday, like all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, I should probably go so I can get all that done. I wanted to share my exciting news of quilting with you, just in case you wanted to make a quilt. Maybe no one in your family made you a quilt and you wanted a quilt. And so you can be your own white knight and make your own quilt, make it in whatever colors you like. So anyway, if I have any questions about anything, if anything wasn't clear, or if you think I forgot anything about blocking, there's so much information in blocking. I just want you to be careful and not ruin your items. So be careful when you're blocking, and if you need to, look up tutorials, but be careful who you follow, because I have seen some tutorials. I was just watching I was watching a yarn dyeing tutorial, and I was like, this person was doing everything I would tell someone not to do. And I mean, her yarn came out okay. I don't think it came out at all what she had been trying to do, but it came out. But I was like horrified watching them do things I would never, like I would never take my skein out of a hot pot and go rinse it and wash it out immediately. Like, you're gonna shock that wool and you're probably gonna disrupt those chemical bonds. Like, I was very, very scared, but it worked out okay. So just be careful who you're listening to, and find an expert. And when in doubt, find an expert. When in doubt, test some samples. You know what I did once? Someone sent me some yarn. They wanted me to make them a shawl, and I did. And she sent me this yarn. It was gorgeous, and she was like, I have no idea what kind of yarn this is. So I figured out how to tell what kind of yarn, if it's wool or anything. And the one I did was you put it in a little bit of bleach, and if it's wool, it'll eat all the bleach and I'll have nothing left. And I figured it was wool, but I didn't know if it had any nylon in it or anything. Not that it would have mattered, but I was just curious. And so I took a little coffee cup, I put a little bit of bleach in there and this little snip of the yarn and dropped it in there. And first, like, it turned white, like the color came out. And then I went back and it was empty. There was nothing in there. It was so cool. So, because the burn test, I think, is not as, plus I will probably burn my house down if I try that. So I don't want to try that. But experiments can be fun. I just watched another guy, the guy that does the electric eel wheel. I watched him do the experiment about how the different fibers conduct heat and which ones are the warmest. And I was so excited that he put dog hair in there. I was so excited to see that. That just made my day. So I thought that was really interesting. And I think that guy is probably the smartest guy I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, you can see his brain spinning while he's talking. He's really, really cool. So those videos are fun to watch. He's an engineer. He makes stuff. I love listening to people that are smarter than me. I love learning from people that are smarter than me, and I'm always trying to learn more and more about anything that I'm interested in. I always think you can learn more. Just be careful of your sources and check everything. Don't even take everything I say, because I might say the wrong thing and not even know it. Or I might know the wrong thing and not know that I know the wrong thing. Because when you know better, you do better. So when I know better, I do better. So if you know better, drop me a comment, because I don't like to know the wrong thing. When in doubt, check an expert and do your own experiment. That's the best thing I can tell you. don't be afraid to try stuff either. What other gifts of enlightenment am I going to give to you today? Absolutely none, because I'm tired and it's almost time for Grocery Girls to go live on Instagram. So priorities. Anyway, thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next week. We're going to talk about, what is next week? Planning February, I think, already. What day is it? It's the 14th and 19th and 26th. Yeah, so, or 29th. What day is it? It's the 14th. 22nd. So yeah, that'll be planning, because then our next one on the 29th will be our end of February, or end of January, beginning of February, where we're going to do those. So next week we'll be planning February stuff already, and I'm not even done with anything. No, I'll be done. The brioche show will be done next week, and hopefully that one skein might be done too, because one skein does not. Do you think it'll take me more than a week? Maybe. I don't know. Hedge your bets. We'll see what happens next time. Who knows? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you learned something. If you have anything else you want to discuss, drop it in the comments, and we'll get to it, because I think February is a short month, so I might have everything filled in for that month, but I think March there are like two days that we won't have episodes for, so really, if there is anything you want to discuss, because otherwise I will sit here and talk about movies I've watched, and I will start like confessing things. Do you want to know what I dreamed about last night? Here's a funny dream for you. I had a dream that my male cat, Tormund Giantsbane, who is a male cat that I've had since he was 10 days old, and he was neutered when he weighed, like 2 pounds? Is that when they neuter? Whenever. So anyway, I had a dream that I walked into the kitchen and he had given birth to a little kitten. This little tiny kitten. And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and we're like, it was totally normal that a male neutered cat had given birth on my kitchen counter to this little kitten. But of all of us, there were people there, all adults. None of us, including me and the cat, had any idea how to care for a newborn kitten. Like, if I'm an expert in anything in this world, it's newborn kittens. Like, if there's anything I know an absurd amount of, it's how to care for newborn kittens. So I woke up, like, that was my last dream of the night, and I woke up like totally like, what? Like, why in the world would I not know anything about that? That's like what I know most about anything in the world. So it was pretty funny. It was really, and like I wouldn't even know that my cat was pregnant or something, and he was a neutered male, but none of that mattered. It was totally normal that he gave birth on my counter, but whatever. This is why I need to stop before we get here, guys, because I'll make it weird. I will make it weird every time. Don't even worry about it. So anyway, I'm going to sign off now, because then I'm getting the giggles. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants the giggles. So anyway, come back. What do they say? Same bat time, same bat channel. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next week. Bye.
1, 2, 3, and...